Storytime about how I accidentally waterboarded myself at the gym. I was feeling dizzy before a workout as I was a bit dehydrated. Usually I go to McDonald's and grab a large unsweet iced tea for the gym. It's better than coffee, wakes me up for the workout, and it's only $1, but I hadn't done that on this day. That was my first screw up. In my slight lightheadedness, I decided to get some water from the fountain in the middle of the workout. Screw up number 2. After an hour on the treadmill, my throat starts to stick a little. I had my mask on and was doing a slow jog about 7 miles per hour, just enough for me to breathe through the mask and didn't have to remove it once during the hour spent on the machine. I hop off the treadmill and the first feeling I get is a rush of blood running away from my brain. It only lasted a second, but anyone getting up too fast from sitting or squatting a long time will know the feeling. It's similar to the dizzy feeling when being drunk. This was a good time for that drink, but because of COVID, the fountains were turned off and you're supposed to bring your own water. Oops. Okay, whatever, I'll power through this. I was doing light weights that day anyway. It'll be fine. Screw up number 3. At the end, my shirt was very sweaty and I'm feeling very dizzy and lightheaded, but it passes. Anyone who's had that feeling would know it's actually a little euphoric, and a great end is a shower. This is also where I should point out that I'm in terrible COVID condition. My belly is huge and my mother pointed out that I looked pregnant when I went to open the fridge door without my shirt on. In my dehydration, I'm not drunk dizzy, but impaired enough to forget to take off my shirt and mask as I take my towel with me to the shower. There's no one else taking a shower as it was a pretty early workout, so I head to my usual stall by habit, which is close to the entrance. I turn on the shower and let the water hit my chest. The feeling is amazing. I'm still in my sweaty shirt and decide to take it off, with my mask still on. The shirt sticks to my skin and rotund belly, making it very hard to remove. Now both my arms are up and the shirt is stuck to my face with the mask, and the water is now filtering through the shirt and mask, blocking my nostrils. This is where I find out how horrible waterboarding is. However, that's not even the worst part. Part 2 of how I accidentally waterboarded myself at the gym. The wet mask and shirt make it instantly extremely hard to breathe as the nostrils are blocked. Instinct says to use my mouth, which is also blocked, and I start to hyperventilate, which sends water into the lungs and causes me to cough and panic. I take a few steps back with my arms still up and spin around to get away from the water. 2 very strong arms lift up my shirt and my mask with it, whereupon I'm confronted with 2 ebony pecs even the Rock would be envious of. Just below these godly pecs are abs of Hercules that puts my pear-shaped physique to shame. That's when the water decides to leave my lungs and I start hacking. Connected to this torso of discipline and genes of envy, I'm hacking spit onto the biggest wee-wee I've ever seen on this side of corn. The glorious footlong is inches from my face where previously only a Subway sandwich had been. The manliest of hands pat my back like a baby being burped. Through tears and embarrassment, we both realize there's a third person that just walked in. Me bent over coughing in the heat from this giant schlong caressing my face. Said person turns on his heels and nopes out. I utter some thanks to my savior and we both decide it's best not to talk about it and finish our showers. Mine was the shortest shower I'd ever had. I rushed to dress and possibly find the third person to hopefully explain, but he was gone by then. On my way out, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose Johnson was inches away from my face, was done with his shower. He has a look of don't say anything, but I spend a few minutes with him thanking him as he's getting dried and dressed. He seems cool with it, I think, but I haven't been back in weeks. Imagine you're 11 years old and walking to the bus stop in the morning when you're suddenly abducted. For the next 18 years, you're held captive by your abductors and hope that one day you'll be free. This was the reality for a young girl named JC Lee Dugard. She was taken just outside of her home in South Lake Tahoe, California on the morning of June 10th, 1991. A man approached her in his car as she crossed the street and asked for directions. Before she could even register his question, he uses a taser on her and she's paralyzed. That's when he grabs her and throws her in his car. JC's stepfather actually saw the kidnapping happen from their garage window and attempted to catch up to the car on his bicycle but was outrun. He immediately called the authorities who, with the help of the FBI, dogs, aircrafts, and hundreds of people, searched for JC, but to no avail. No one could find her and all the leads went cold. She was locked in a makeshift recording studio by convicted rapist and his wife, Philip and Nancy Garrido, in their backyard. On the first night, her abductor showers with her and handcuffs her. That night, she cries herself to sleep. Over the next 18 years, JC is completely dependent on him for every basic human need. They renamed her Alyssa, and she was repeatedly abused by Philip over the years. He would take substances and stay up for nights on end, forcing JC to fulfill his fantasies. Over time, he stops handcuffing her and starts to trust her more. When JC's 13, Philip Garrido is actually arrested by police for possession of substances and is locked up for a month. When he returns, he has an ankle monitor. Still, no one knows that he's holding JC. A year later, JC is 14 and has gained weight. She feels uncomfortable and is soon told by the Garridos that she's pregnant. She gave birth to her first daughter at the age of 14 and her second daughter at the age of 17. Both of her daughters are forced to live with her in confinement as she does her best to raise and take care of them. During this time, she writes in a journal about her feelings and wondered if her family members were ever searching for her. I'd like to start by saying that me and my female cousin, who's blind from birth, aren't very close, but we get along well as relatives. She's 26 and her wedding was last week. She sent me an invitation, though we don't talk much, but since I wanted a break from work, I decided to go. My favorite color is white. I love wearing white because it brings out my skin glow and makes me feel comfortable and confident. I purchased a maxi white dress, nothing fancy but goes well with my skin tone, and wore it at the wedding. There wasn't a big party with many guests, but sort of like a family dinner and a small celebration. I really thought no one would even notice that I was wearing white. My cousin and her husband didn't know because obviously no one told them, but my aunt kept giving me uncomfortable looks the entire evening, and so did my other cousin. Once I decided to leave, my aunt pulled me aside and berated me for wearing this color at her daughter's wedding. She said just because her daughter is blind doesn't mean that she's stupid and doesn't know what's going on around her. Basically saying I brought negative energy and disturbed the celebration by having guests notice, and by extension, my cousin as well. She gave a lengthy lecture and asked if I hate to see her daughter happy and whether I pulled this stunt because my blind cousin got married before me. I was like, whoa, calm down, none of this is true. I just wore my favorite color and didn't do it because my cousin is blind and wouldn't notice. And married before me, I never thought of that. I argued with my aunt for trying to dictate what I wear, but she defended herself, saying that I was a guest and should have respected the bride. I left feeling very upset and exhausted from that encounter. My boyfriend said he believed I used the fact that my cousin is blind to wear white, but this didn't fly with her family. He pulled the "I told you so" line and said that I just made my family hate me with that stunt. Even though he knows that I always wear white, but he warned me that if my cousin finds out, there's going to be some issues. He suggested I get ready to apologize, but I really see no reason to apologize since I chose to wear a comfortable color that I feel confident in. Am I the asshole for wearing white to my blind cousin's wedding? My fiancé is grieving the passing of his ex-girlfriend and I'm annoyed. One night, my fiancé came home from work in a panic and extremely upset. He started to tell me that he found out his ex-girlfriend Lacey had been in a car accident and she didn't survive. He began crying hysterically, which is something I've never seen him do. I did my best to comfort him and try to help, but I didn't really know what to do. He was sobbing all night that night, and the next night, and the night after that. He called into work for a whole week and was super depressed. We have been saving like crazy in order to have the dream wedding we've always wanted. Most of it is on me since I have a higher paying job and get lots of overtime. One night at dinner, he suggested that we take a good chunk of our wedding funds and donate it for his ex's funeral. He kept telling me stories about the good times they had everywhere they went and how much he wishes she was still here. He said that we could replace the funds in a few months if I just do a little extra overtime on top of the 2 days I do a week already. Then he showed me some old pictures they had together. All of this was overwhelming to say the least, and I was not only uncomfortable but also furious. They were together for a few years, so it's understandable that he's sad, but it was over the top. I flat out told him no and we got into a huge fight and he hasn't brought it up since. It's been a couple of weeks now and he's still randomly crying and talking about how he wishes he got to see her before the accident. I'm trying to be understanding, but it's really hard hearing him talk about her nonstop. I'm starting to think that he was still in love with her despite being engaged to me. His constant depressed mood since the accident is affecting our relationship. When I try to talk to him about it, he gets extremely defensive and calls me cold-hearted and cruel. I'm trying to be as sympathetic as I can, but I'm running out of patience. I still love him with all my heart, but I feel like I've given him more than enough time to grieve and it's time to move on. I'm at my breaking point and I don't want to hear another word about Lacey. Am I being too harsh? My boyfriend and I have a 4-year-old son and recently bought a house in July. Less than a month after moving in, his mother asked if she could move in and we said yes. She's married, but the relationship is, well, rather strange. Her reasoning to live with us is that her husband wouldn't bother her while staying with us because her son was there. While her and her husband lived together, she accused him of hiding cameras in their house to spy on her. I mean, going to the extent of hiding cameras in her ceiling phone chargers, water bottles, doorknobs, you name it. I've never liked this man nor trusted him. I'm currently pregnant with our second child, a baby girl due in April. Within the last 2 weeks, she has had her husband stay overnight more than once and he is now walking into our home without knocking. He welcomes himself in our house without permission from my boyfriend or myself. Given their history, the hidden cameras and physical abuse, I'm not comfortable with him being in my home or spending the night. I'm conflicted on how to tell my boyfriend's mom I don't want her husband in my home because he makes me uncomfortable and I don't trust him based on the things she's personally told me. I know she'll react angrily, but my blood boils at the sight of him in my house. Within just this last week, he actually kicked our 3-month-old lab puppy. I saw this and told him to never kick my animals regardless if they're jumping on him or not. He's a guest. This is their house. The part in all of this that makes no sense to me is that my boyfriend's mom doesn't trust her husband, always accusing him of cheating and is constantly bad-mouthing this man to me. He claims my son and unborn daughter are his grandchildren and it makes me sick. My boyfriend agreed with me at first but is now going back on it because he's afraid of his mother's reaction. I love his mom in our relationship but not her husband. What should I do? I had a table today with a couple and the husband was introducing his baby mama to his family. He was military and I guess he's been busy on his time away. The couple also had a brand new baby that they were showing off. Nice folks. They were with the dude's mom, sister, and aunt. They ordered a baked chicken nacho to start, which I promptly put in. Mind you, I was captain on a party of 25 and finishing them up and the host told them they may have a few minute wait at the table. They were cool at first. Once the food came out, the complaints started. I checked on them multiple times in passing and nobody asked for anything. They, of freaking course, asked for waters for the table and also each had a beer or mocktail. Nobody asked for refills or to order another. They didn't have a single auto refill drink, but okay, maybe I wasn't being super attentive. Anyway, the mom goes to the front and has a hissy fit and my manager deals with her, but she pulls me aside to say that she was watching me and that she knows I did my best. Even if the food was kind of late behind our party of 25 regulars. She's gonna comp the cheesecake slices and I shouldn't worry about them. I go and drop the discounted check and I hear the Beyonce say, I'm gonna order cheesecake for all of us and get the whole bill taken care of. The sister and mom both cringe visibly and make eye contact with me. I drop the free $50 of cheesecake and bring the fussy toddler a free milk just to show that I care. The aunt stares at the check and then violently snatches it. I watch the new baby mama die internally. I can only imagine she's been dealing with this effing witch for hours or days and is rapidly approaching her limit. She's dressed like a crunchy hippie mom and is super sweet whenever I come back to the table. She isn't a problem and I imagine she's served before. You'll see why. Not 5 minutes after the $40 check is dropped, my manager finds me and we go to a posy to look at the ring times and such. She wants to make sure I did my best before she sticks up for me. Everything checks out and she decides it isn't worth the trouble and comps the entire bill. They seem satisfied and leave. Finally. On the way out, they called me slow and shiftless and say I should work somewhere else. I laughed in response because F them and I wished them a lovely evening. I knew I wasn't going to get tipped and just started to bust the table once they were out of view. I found a 20 by where the sister was sitting and a crisp 50 in the middle of the table. I'm betting the dude left that. As I finish up, I see the baby mama speaking to the manager who gestures toward me and I walk over. She smashes a crumbled 100 into my hand and whispers, "I'm so sorry, I know you did your best with them." Not gonna lie y'all, I almost cried. I simply nodded and said thanks so much and that I hope to see her and her baby again. She thanked me again and walked off. I imagine the aunt thinks that she did something by scoring free food for everyone, but all she did was alienate her nephew and her sister further. Me and 4 other girls have been best friends since middle school and we're all 17. When we were freshmen, we got matching necklaces that say besties for the resties on them. One of us will say besties and the others will respond for the resties. One of my best friends is named Alexa. She was one of the 4 and she did everything with us. A few weeks ago, out of the blue, she decided she wants to be called Alex and to be a guy now. And also to use he, him pronouns. They're basically a totally different person now. I feel like my best friend has died. None of us even recognize this new person and all of us are kind of in mourning. We've stopped hanging out with them pretty much. It's not the same now. It's really depressing. Today, they tried to get the other 4 of us to do the same. They kept saying besties over and over, trying to get us to do the response, but no one was doing it and it was just a tense, depressing silence. Then they started crying and it made me want to cry. I feel like my best friend is dead and I know the others are very upset too. We won't ever get our friend back. Alexa is dead. We can't go shopping together, can't watch the same movies now, can't have sleepovers, can't get our nails done, can't do each other's hair, can't bake cupcakes now. There's literally nothing left to do together that wouldn't be incredibly uncomfortable. Am I the asshole for being unable to complete the phrase? I've been dating my girlfriend for 7 months. She's amazing and we're super compatible in a lot of ways. She's an outspoken vegan and she made it very clear from the start of our relationship that it was important to her any potential partner had the same cruelty-free values. Me, already being a pescatarian, had little difficulty transitioning to a fully plant-based diet. My girlfriend was proud of me for going cruelty-free and everything seemed well. Then there's my cat Mittens. I've had her for 3 years and I adore her. She's such a sweet and cuddly cat. However, my girlfriend was always a little apprehensive around her and she blamed it on not growing up around cats. After a while, we sort of made an agreement to mostly hang out at her apartment instead of mine, so Mittens never really came up again in the conversation. Fast forward through all the quarantine stuff. My girlfriend and I have spent a lot of time together during this pandemic and started talking about moving our relationship to the next level. We began seriously looking at either buying a new apartment together or having one of us move in with the other. However, after a lot of talking and planning, my girlfriend sat me down and dropped a bombshell on me. She said that with this next phase of our relationship, she didn't see a future with me unless I was willing to give away Mittens. She said that she believed that owning a cat is unconscionable for vegans because they hunt mice and eat meat, and because the very act of owning a pet is a violation of vegan principles. I was stunned. I told her that I was absolutely not willing to give up Mittens, and she had no choice but to eat meat, so I was reducing harm as much as possible by buying the reputable brands of cat food. Plenty of vegans own cats and think along the same lines. My girlfriend got mad and said, "How much flesh does your cat eat? How many animals died to make all that food? Would you be okay with that being human flesh?" I got mad and told my girlfriend I would have really appreciated her telling me about her cat opinions before we got serious. She went on and on about cats killing animals. Then I went home and snuggled with Mittens. Although the mood soured a bit when my GF sent me a link to the Reddit thread advocating for the extinction of domestic cats. It pains me to think that an otherwise wonderful relationship could be ended because of a difference in ideology. I don't even really understand where my girlfriend is coming from because, like I said, a lot of vegans own cats. Now granted, cat ownership can be a controversial topic in the vegan circles and I probably would not have gotten a cat if I had been vegan at the time. But I have Mittens now and she deserves to eat. I've talked to some of my vegan and vegetarian friends and they all think that my girlfriend has lost her mind. Some have suggested it's not about Mittens and my girlfriend just wants an excuse to end it. They probably don't understand why I haven't broken up yet, but I care about my girlfriend so much. I'd hate for this bizarre curveball to be the end of a beautiful thing. Where do I even go from here?